This is True News, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. I'm Rick Wiles. Thousands of Canadians have lined highways for days to cheer on a 45-mile-long convoy of tens of thousands of truckers headed to Ottawa to protest Justin Trudeau's COVID vaccine mandate. Trudeau's mandate took effect January 15. It requires truckers entering Canada from the USA to be fully vaccinated, a term that changes its meaning from month to month. Likewise, the Biden administration imposed a similar requirement on truckers, and that took effect January 22nd. As many as 32,000 Canadian truckers may lose their jobs soon if the mandate for cross-border truckers is not lifted. The Freedom Convoy assembled in British Columbia on Sunday. The first contingent of trucks arrived in Ottawa on Friday. Tens of thousands of trucks are expected to arrive in the Canadian capital throughout tonight and tomorrow. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau smeared the Freedom Convoy truckers by calling them a small fringe minority who hold unacceptable views. Doc Burkhart and I will talk today about the movement in Canada to fight for freedom. Doc, finally, people are standing up and protesting against these Nazi mandates and simply saying, we're not going to accept it. We're drawing the line. This is it. And we want our freedom back.
And it's certainly not a fringe minority, is it?
No, it's not. And the views that are unacceptable are Justin Trudeau's views. Let's get this straight. Justin Trudeau is holding unacceptable views. And the truckers are coming to town today in Ottawa to set him straight. And in a few minutes, we'll talk about Justin Trudeau because he seems that he's hiding this weekend. There's nowhere to be found. Well, let's take a look at what's going on here in the United States. Fox News reported on it, said the Canadian Freedom Truckers' massive vaccine mandate convoy may smash the world record. Now we're talking.
Yes. I mean, we're talking as high as 50,000 trucks or more. Now, some people are disputing that number, but that's the number we've been seeing over and over again throughout various outlets and by various witnesses and organizers of the convoy. 50,000 trucks. You'd said that this was 45 miles long. Can you imagine that? 45 miles. And just to see a line of trucks coming into your nation's capital. And they've started arriving today, as you mentioned earlier, Rick.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it's going to look like by Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening in Ottawa?
And the video that I've seen online today and yesterday is it's just from town to town. The citizens are coming out, standing on bridges, standing along highways, waving the Canadian flag, cheering for the truckers. And it's like the first fresh air to come to Canada in 2 years. And it's very, very encouraging to see that there are still people who are unwilling to be Nazified and have their freedom stripped away and be pushed into this new world order that none of us want. Now, one of the truckers, one of the organizers of the Freedom Convoy, spoke with Tucker Carlson recently, and we have a short clip from that interview.
Benjamin Dichter is a spokesman for the Freedom Convoy. He's going to join it tomorrow, but he joins us now. Mr. Dichter, thanks so much for coming on tonight. Tell us why you're doing this. What's the point of this convoy?
Well, it's simple. I mean, we've seen Canada go from a country of Justin Trudeau's promises of sunny ways into dark authoritarian oppression and control.
Yes.
We want two things. We want to get rid of the vaccine mandates and the passports. And the passports that's a really concerning one. Yesterday, it was my first time ever crossing the border in my truck with my digital passport. And I held my phone up to the border agent to give him the QR code. You know what he said to me? Oh, it's okay, I don't need it. So what do you mean you don't need it? So, oh, your phone already popped up on my screen and is correlated with your passport. Can you think of that? Can you believe that? So they know everybody who's coming up to the border before they're there, and they're tracking them. Now, maybe it's outlandish, but what's to prevent the government from introducing that across Canada and not limiting it to just borders? And you guys are getting it as well, and you can thank us for it, because apparently, according to our sources within the media and within government, we have some close ties. Apparently, the Trudeau government, the Biden administration had no interest in it, but the Trudeau government lobbied and requested the Biden administration to introduce this. We don't know why. We don't know the terms of the deal. Are they going to be trading intelligence back and forth between Canada and the U.S. tracking cell phones? Of course, we have no idea. But this is where we're going if this does not stop. That's why this is the line. This is where it ends.
Now, I don't know if you caught what he was saying there, Rick. We were talking as the clip was running there, our audience. If you notice, he didn't even have to show him the QR code on his phone. His phone was syncing up with their digital systems already.
They were reading his phone as he drove in.
As he drove in. And he says, it's coming here, folks. And he's right. But that's why these guys are standing up against the Castro Jr. government up in Ottawa right now. We've got a little bit of video here. It shows you just sort of the extent of some of the trucks and everything pulling into Toronto and the people lining up. This is your fringe minority that's showing up, Rick. It looks more like a great majority out there than anything else.
Yes, and the people that are lining up to welcome the truckers, that's the encouraging thing to see combined thousands of people in all the Canadian towns along the route who are coming out in very cold temperatures and snow to cheer on the truckers. So I'm very encouraged by it. I hope this spreads throughout Canada and the United States of America and Australia and New Zealand and the Netherlands and France. The one group of people who have the ability to shut down the New World Order are the truckers. Because if they park their rigs, right now they're rolling.
Yes.
But what's more effective is not that the trucks are rolling to a protest, but the trucks are parked.
Yes.
If they park the rigs, the system collapses.
Absolutely. Because let's face it, and we've said it before, our warehouse is on wheels. That is the supply chain. The truck drivers on the road, they are the supply chain. You disrupt that, you have basically brought everything we do to a halt.
That's right. The truckers have the ability to bring down the entire New World Order system by simply refusing to drive the trucks. And then demand that the supporters of the New World Order flee. Don't accept that they just rescind some of their mandates. No, they have to leave the country. You don't back down until they're gone. Make them board a plane and fly out of the country. Let them go to Beijing, where they'll feel at home.
Right.
But we have to get tough with these people, because if you let their faces up from the pavement, they're just going to get back up on their feet and come at you again.
And again.
And again and again. And they'll just keep regrouping until they figure out a way to wear you down. So we have to wear them down. And we have to let them know we're not going to be pushed around. We're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be deceived. We're going to stand our ground. This is freedom, and this is life and death. There's nowhere else to go after this.
Yes.
There's nowhere else to go. You give in to these people, it's over. Freedom is over worldwide. If you give in, it's over worldwide. That's what's at stake.
Right.
A lot of people, I use the phrase New World Order, but it's more than the New World Order. This is the fourth beast that's in the Bible. Daniel, the prophet in the Old Testament, saw a vision. He saw the fourth beast. This is the fourth beast. John in his vision on Patmos Island, saw the fourth beast. It is now here. The worldwide system that has teeth of iron to devour, to smash, to break up, to make war against the saints of God, to force all humans to receive a mark in their hand or their forehead, to buy and sell. That's what we're up against. And the Holy Church of God must wake up and realize that the beast is here. This isn't just a bad dream that's going to go away. The beast is here. We may push it back into the dark caves for a time, but the beast is going to come out again.
Yes.
So it's time for the church to become strong. The real church, not the harlot church, not the church of the tares, but the church of the wheat. The real church needs to come out and stand up and loudly and proudly be the church in the last days of the last days, because that's where we're at right now. We are facing Satan face to face at this point. His system is coming out. It's being brought out on center stage, and they're not bashful about it at all. And once they have total control, they will bare their teeth. You will see their teeth of iron. And so right now, they're on edge. They're not sure if the people are going to row over and allow them just to walk over them and take over the world, or will the people stand up and oppose them? They're not sure. They're on edge. The truckers in Canada have them scared this weekend. And I hope truckers in the United States and around the world will do the same thing. And then I hope the rest of the people will get courage from the truckers and say, we're with them. We're going to join in this movement. We can shut down the system. We can make them capitulate. We can make them resign. We can make them flee the country. I want to show you, this is from a drone footage from over the...
Yeah, we showed the drone
did we?
footage
Oh, that's
already,
right. That's what we were looking... I'm sorry.
But
so
that's just a little taste of the supporters that are coming out for all across Canada. We've got a video clip here, Rick, of Canadians. What the world perceives mild-mannered Canadians are rising up now and lining the interstate in the bitter cold of Canada to cheer on these truck drivers as they head to the capital of Ottawa. Watch this.
You know, every truck that's in that convoy is a truck that's not hauling goods.
That's right. And so
they will feel the effects of it in the days ahead.
And as important as the truck drivers are, another important component of our culture and our society today, our economy, are the farmers. And now the farmers have jumped in on this, on the bandwagon, so to speak. Canadian farmers have lined up now to join the convoy. We have a video clip of that as well. See that line of yellow and green lining up along with the truck drivers in Canada.
It's a great sight.
Yeah,
this is
it
a great sight. I love it.
There are people that are now really starting to wake up to this, and they're seeing their fellow Canadians up in Canada, and they are so deeply moved by this. I hope you're getting moved by this, but we got a video clip here of a man that's just expressing just great joy at seeing his fellow Canadians rising up at this point. Watch this.
Hey guys, trying to keep it together here. It's emotional. It's Chris from Police on Guard here, and I'm in the car with my family on the way to Ottawa. And every overpass is packed with Canadians. Look at this right here. Okay? Look at this. This is not a fringe. We will not be divided. This is Canada. We stand together. We stand on guard for thee. God bless Canada. Yes! God bless every single one of you truckers and every single one of you Canadians that are supporting this movement. We will win this country back. God bless you, and I'll see you all in Ottawa.
So you can see, I'm deeply emotional, deeply moved by what he's seeing there. And this is really touching a lot of people at this point. And people are not putting up with the nonsense anymore. And we've got another video.
This has been a long fight. This is 2 years. We've been in, all of us, you, me, all of us, we've been in this fight for 2 years.
Yes.
We're tired, but we're winning. We're winning.
And people
Please don't feel like you've been beaten down. You're winning.
Yes. And people have a renewed courage now, whereas in the past couple of years we've just said, all right, we'll just take it, whatever you want us to do, we'll just go along with it. A video clip here, there were police that were trying to block some of the truckers from exiting a ramp and everything, and the people were having nothing to do with that. They were crying out to the cops, let them through, let them through. Watch this. So people aren't putting up with it anymore, Rick, and even some of the, we reported earlier this week about GoFundMe restricting some of the funds that had been raised for, actually all the funds that had been raised for the Freedom Convoy that's going through Canada.
$6 million.
Yeah, it was up at over $6 million.
And GoFundMe is holding it.
Well, at least they were. At least that's...
They've only released $1 million.
That's right. They're
still
true.
holding $5 million.
Right. So the organizer of Freedom Convoy 2022 says GoFundMe has agreed to release funds donated to their cause. It's raised an amazing more than $6 million from more than 81,000 contributors. The convoy says the money will go to fuel, food, lodging expenses with surplus to veterans group.
Why do they have to get GoFundMe's permission to get the money that the people donated on the GoFundMe platform?
Well, that's the power that they have, Rick. But obviously, GoFundMe has been into the pressure, from people saying, I'll just leave GoFundMe. Well, maybe you should. Maybe you should never be on GoFundMe in the first place.
So GoFundMe is saying, well, we'll consider releasing this money when the truckers tell us how they're going to spend it.
Don't you hate it when people ask
That's the
that?
left. That's the left. You just want to get in their face and, well, I think Rand Paul expressed it yesterday, bear spray. Hey, to the left, we're fed up with you people. We're fed up with you. The normal, law-abiding, tax-paying people are fed up with the left. We're fed up.
Yes.
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah, the left wants to know what you're going to do with your money and your property and everything else. It's none of your business what we do with it. But
the people donate it legally.
Yes.
GoFundMe set up a business that said you can raise money for causes.
Yes.
Anything that's legal, anything that's legitimate.
And they make money from it.
And they make money because they get to keep a portion of it. But GoFundMe, the leaders of GoFundMe are expressing their political views about this protest. Well, is that in the rules of GoFundMe that they have the right to withhold the money if they don't politically like your views? But this is the left. With Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, they have different rules for conservatives. Well, one of these days, we're going to have different rules for the lefties. And it's going to come on you with such vengeance. You will regret the day that you did this to us.
So GoFundMe is releasing an initial $1 million in fundraising money to organizers of the trucker convoy protesting vaccine mandates after the website had temporarily frozen the funds earlier this week. So in a statement to CTV News out of Canada, a GoFundMe spokesperson said the organizers have provided a plan for the money's distribution to cover the cost of gas for those planning to protest this weekend in Parliament Hill in Ottawa. The trust and safety of our global community is our top priority, the spokesperson wrote in the statement. That's why we're following our standard verification process and working directly with the campaign organizer to ensure the funds are distributed as stated by the organizer and in compliance with the law and our terms of service. No, you're not. You're just causing problems. That's all. You know what the movement's about. They're very clear about it. They're opposed to vaccine mandates. You just don't like that aspect of it.
Justin Trudeau's team contacted GoFundMe and said, do not release the money.
Yes.
Bottom line, that's what happened. The government interfered and didn't really require pressure. They just called another lefty at GoFundMe and said, do us a favor. Don't release the money. But it started to become a public embarrassment to GoFundMe, which I hope not one person watching me, I hope no one ever again uses GoFundMe. Like Rand Paul said last week, we got to stop giving money to the people who hate us,
yes.
Like DirecTV. They're canceling One America News. Why? They don't like One America News.
That's it.
As simple as that. So you can't have a discussion of news in America anymore because the communists in this country say only their viewpoints can be heard.
Only approved news.
Well, let me tell you, this thing's going to flip someday, and we'll make sure the lefties are not heard for a long, long time. That pendulum's going to swing. It's going to swing really hard. And they're going to regret what they did because we're not going to forget it. We are not going to forget what the left has done to us. There's going to be payback to the left. That's a promise. So, where are we, Doc, before I go off on a rant?
Well, the Truckers Convoy out of Canada has received some online endorsements from some unusual quarters here. Donald Trump Jr. and Elon Musk have been cheering on the vaccine protest.
It's interesting, Elon Musk.
Yeah, the guy who is in favor of driverless trucks, endorsing this. I thought that was interesting.
Yes, he's seeing the end of trucking as we know it.
But for the sake of our story today, they were both endorsing it. We do have a story.
And the guy who wants to build an army of robots.
Yes, that came out this week as well. So CBC News has a report on this. Let's watch.
The convoy is attracting supporters with a wide range of views, some more extreme than others, including some Americans with massive platforms. Katie Nicholson has that part of the story.
It may have started with some truckers upset by the cross-border vaccine mandate, but it's morphed into a rallying cry for people with a variety of grievances.
Stop forcing this needle into us. We don't want it. We don't need it.
Ranging from anti-government to anti-mask viewpoints.
Remove the muzzle. The mask doesn't protect against any stupid little virus.
Freedom is a repeated refrain. Those who keep tabs on the spread of misinformation online say it's a trend.
We're seeing the phrase freedom of expression being used in the context of efforts to fight misinformation. And what they're really doing is they're using these ideologically appealing notions in order to push misinformation.
The convoy even picking up endorsements from some with huge international platforms who faced criticism for spreading COVID-19 misinformation. Like Elon Musk tweeting, "Canadian truckers rule," and podcaster Joe Rogan.
It's a giant convoy of trucks that's apparently some insane amount of people, like 50,000 trucks.
Well, perhaps not that many trucks.
This is really hard to put a number on, but I will say this. There have been claims that there will be 50,000 big rigs, and that's just not viable.
And there's frustration from truckers not in the protest.
I have had drivers call me repeatedly today saying that they're frustrated that they can't go about doing their job because the minority is ruling the day on the road.
He says roughly 90% of the trucking industry is fully vaccinated.
This has been hijacked by some people that are not directly related to the trucking industry. And I'd rather say to them, go have your own party and your own protest and let us go about doing our jobs.
The convoy is set to roll into Ottawa on Saturday. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
The narrative, and it's not working anymore.
They don't believe it
It's
anymore.
It's over, all you control freaks. It's over. The people are awake, and they're standing up, and they're not going to take your needles anymore. And after they stop taking your needles, they're going to stop taking the rest of your garbage that you've been trying to shove down our mouths for decades. People are fed up. They're tired. And the globalists overplayed their hand. That's the bottom line. They overplayed their hand. Doc, they've been rolling out globalism for decades incrementally. Just easing it in. And if people like you and I have talked about globalism.
Right.
Global government, new world, there's no such thing.
Right. But
You're
now,
a conspiracy theorist. But then they got all excited and they said, let's go for it. Let's just go for it. Let's just put the people down, take away their freedom, and rule the world. And they showed their hand. And now they've been exposed. And we know who they are now. They used to be so dignified.
Or hidden.
Or hidden.
Yes.
But now they're out in the open, and we know who you are now. You can't hide. And the people are going to find you. And they're going to be Nuremberg trials someday. And we're going to hunt down the Nazis who killed the little children with their gene therapy drugs. Because this death will continue for years. The next 2 to 3 years, there's going to be a massive die-off of people from the gene therapy injection, the human population reduction operation that the globalists launched in 2020. They can't hide from the people. They can't hide. There is no place that they can go. And if we don't get you, Jesus will. Because he's going to come back, and you freaks are going to hide in caves and beg the rocks to fall on you. Just picture that sight. Just picture Bill Gates and George Soros
hiding
and
in a cave.
Zuckerberg hiding in caves going, I want the rocks to fall on me. That Christ is out there. His angels are out there. And then they're going to come inside the cave and get you. That's what these people are facing, Doc.
Yes.
That's a real promise from the Lord. He's going to hunt them down. When he comes back, he hunts them down. Do you understand that the Lord will come back with tens of millions of angels? I don't know if any of us know the number. Hundreds of millions. They come back to gather up all the wicked. The first people who get gathered up are not the righteous, it's the wicked. They get bundled and burned.
Yes.
The Lord is coming back to find these people, and he will take care of them. He will give them what they deserve. And their day is coming. Right now, they think they're in control, but they're nervous today. In Canada, they're nervous. Little Justin Trudeau is hiding. He's afraid of the truckers. He's shaking so much, his eyebrows are falling off. He had to use super glue today to keep his eyebrows on. The next one we have here, is Justin Trudeau. He says it's a fringe minority who do not represent the views of the Canadian people. Let's watch.
It's important to underline that close to 90% of truckers in this country are vaccinated, like close to 90% of Canadians. over the past many months and years now, Canadians have stepped up to protect each other, to protect our frontline workers, to protect our elders, to protect our young people, to protect people like truckers who are putting food on our grocery store shelves. Canadians have stepped up to do the right thing to protect the freedoms and the rights of Canadians to get back to the things we love to do. We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. And the overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that. The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
Unacceptable views.
Unacceptable views.
And their views.
That was a chilling phrase there.
Just like Hitler. Just like his father, Fidel.
Yes.
You know, by the way, some of you are wondering, why does Rick always talk about his eyebrows falling off? Honestly, like about 2 years ago, Trudeau's eyebrow fell off one day.
While he was making...
They literally fell off. They were glued on. They're fake eyebrows. I can't look at the man now and not remember. He has fake eyebrows. He's like some little sissy thing that, you know, has to prep and put on his fake eyebrows.
Right, when he's not in blackface, he has to put on his black eyebrows.
Yes, that's right, because, he's also a racist and a communist. And so if you believe in freedom, you're holding unacceptable views. But he said the way to get freedom is to do what you don't want to do.
Well, that's the, freedom of slavery, Rick.
Orwellian newspeak.
And so Justin Trudeau, he's going to stand up to the truckers when they get to Ottawa, right?
Yeah, right.
Wrong. No. Here's a little tweet from yesterday. Last night, I learned that I've been exposed to COVID-19. My rapid test result was negative. I'm following Ottawa health rules and isolating for 5 days.
Wait a minute, you're vaccinated, Justin.
Vaccinated and boosted.
You can't get COVID.
2 weeks ago.
You can't get COVID, Justin.
And he says, I feel fine and will be working from home. Stay safe, everyone, and please get vaccinated.
Why would I get vaccinated if I can get infected? Because it's not about being protected from the China virus. It's about them getting their gene therapy inside your body. That's the motive. That's the operation. But it's just humorous to see him hiding, saying, I would be out there, but I was exposed to somebody who has COVID. And even though I'm triple, quadruple jabbed, just to be safe, I'm going to hide.
Well, CTV News has a report on this. Let's see what they have to say about it in Canada.
Minutes ago on Twitter, actually, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's in self-isolation because of a COVID exposure. So I'll just read from that tweet. The tweet says, last night, I learned that I had been exposed to COVID-19. My rapid test result was negative. I'm following Ottawa health rules and isolating for 5 days. I feel fine and will be working from home. Stay safe, everyone, and please get vaccinated. So this is the latest development. Of course, last night he says he's, according to this tweet, was exposed to COVID-19. We're looking for more information. Of course, just yesterday he was giving a press conference flanked by cabinet ministers after having a virtual cabinet retreat, mainly talking about the situation in Ukraine and, of course, the trucker convoy that is on its way to Ottawa. But this is not the first time that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has had to deal with a COVID exposure. Of course, his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, was one of the earliest confirmed COVID-19 cases in Ottawa. And at that point in time, of course, he was in isolation. If you remember, those are early days in the pandemic, Jen, when we all had to watch every morning as the Prime Minister came out of Rideau Cottage, giving updates on the situation. And also just recently in December, three of his staff and also three of his security team all tested positive for COVID. He was isolating and monitoring his symptoms at that point in time.
He really does look like Fidel Castro, who impregnated his mother. Folks, I'm serious. He's Fidel Castro's son. There's a whole long story about how his mother was impregnated by Fidel Castro. Right? They wanted to keep the communist dynasty going.
So.
But isn't it interesting how the CTV reporter, he couldn't get enough brain cells functioning to say, how could the Prime Minister catch COVID if he's triple jabbed?
And wearing a mask.
How could that be? Doesn't that seem odd? No, the reporter just stands there reading his narrative like he's been told to do.
Yep.
Because if he would have said, if he would have questioned, he would have lost his job.
Right.
Immediately. They would have gone to black, and he would never come back. That's censorship, that's communism, that's state control. That's what we're fighting. It's called the Freedom Convoy. And it's not just freedom from these gene therapy injections, it's freedom from propaganda. It's freedom from lies. It's freedom from state control. That's what these truckers are fighting for. And I hope it spreads to the United States of America. Look, start organizing now to drive a convoy to Washington, D.C. and shut down that city. Get the message across to those people in Washington, D.C. that the American people are fed up too. The truckers, you can do it. The people will back you. And if we have to shut down the whole country, we'll do it. And we have to have a demand that these people leave the country. We can't give them a chance to regroup. You have to force them out of the country. Let them seek asylum in Beijing. Because that's who's running this whole operation.
That's where they get their paychecks anyway.
That's right.
Well, as the convoy approaches Ottawa and everything, we're getting now reports that there's an increase in police response, heavy police presence as truckers arrive in downtown Ottawa. Ottawa's police chief is urging people to avoid downtown Ottawa this weekend with a large convoy of truckers arriving Friday afternoon. Chief Peter Soley also issued a stark warning to any protesters who break the law. They will be prosecuted. Let me be very clear. We are prepared to investigate, arrest if necessary, charge and prosecute anyone who acts violently or breaks the law in the demonstrations or in association with the demonstrations, Soley said Friday ahead of the convoy's
arrival. In other words,
arrival.
we're looking for any reason we can find to arrest the truckers. And we're telling all the citizens, don't even think about coming to the capital of your nation and showing support for these truckers. Because the police are here against you.
Right. And so the police are saying, don't come here, we're going to get you.
But if your Black Lives Matter, they would welcome you.
And
if you wanted to have a communist march, if you wanted to march for homosexual rights, if you wanted to march for the right to murder babies, the police would say, well, come, absolutely. We'll protect you from those right-wing zealots that might show up to counter-protest you. In many cities, the police officials, not the rank-and-file police, but the police officials are leftists.
Usually because they're appointed positions.
Yes.
And so they're not elected positions. They're not even earned tenured positions. They are politically appointed positions.
And what have we seen in the past 2 years? State and county and city health officials are dangerous. They are dangerous. In many places, these mandates have not been issued by governors or mayors. They've been issued by state health directors. And we don't even know their names.
Right. They're hidden hand that moves and everything. All right, so the propaganda is starting up now that all these truckers and everybody coming to Ottawa, they're up to no good. They're undesirables. They're the Canadian deplorables. CBC News is reporting concerns mount as protest convoy approaches Ottawa. This is number 18 for control. And so, and then CTV News is reporting Justin Trudeau, Castro Jr. is concerned that the trucker convoy converging on Parliament Hill, Rick, it could turn violent. These truckers, you don't know what they're up to. You don't know what's going to happen. So while he's cowering under his desk down in his bunker somewhere with his fake COVID report, he's saying, you know what? There could be bad things happening out there. Somebody protect me from the bad people.
Yeah, what he's really saying is, I'm afraid the truckers are going to find me.
That's exactly right. So Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's concerned about the potential for violence during this weekend's planned protest on Parliament Hill by truckers and others joining the crowd. In an interview with the Canadian Press, Trudeau says the Freedom Convoy is no longer a protest against the federal vaccine mandate for cross-border truckers and has morphed into a forum for a small minority of very angry people opposed to all public health measures to curb the spread of COVID-19, some of whom espouse violence, Rick.
Well, he didn't talk that way about truckers last year during the Canadian elections.
No, absolutely not. No, he was praising the truckers. In fact, he had his own campaign for truckers. Thank a trucker, he said. And so this April of 2020, while many of us are working from home, this is during the beginning of the pandemic, there are others who aren't able to do that, like the truck drivers who are working day and night to make sure our shelves are stocked. So when you can, please thank a trucker for everything they're doing and help out however that you can.
Well, we do thank the truckers,
yes,
and we thank you for what you're doing right now.
So if you want to get that hashtag going again, let's thank a trucker once again. Thank you, Justin Trudeau, for inspiring us.
Well, also inside the Canadian trucking industry, the business leaders are speaking out against the truckers who are protesting today in Ottawa. And this next report, this is CTV, embarrassment for the industry. Not all truckers support the Freedom Convoy. Says who? Says who? See, the headline says, privately, truckers are embarrassed. They're just embarrassed.
All right, who? Yeah. Where are all the embarrassed truckers at in their protest?
Yeah. Get 50,000 truckers out there who support mandates and support Trudeau.
Yeah, line them up, put the banners out on the truck, put the flags out on the truck.
And get the people to come out and stand on bridges and highways and cheer for them.
Will they come out? Well, of course they won't, because there's no support for it.
That would be like trying to find a Biden rally.
So Mike Milan, the president of the Private Motor Truck Council of Canada, says he's worried about the rhetoric coming out of the convoy. We've got a clip of an interview that he did trying to meander his way in an explanation of the Freedom Convoy approaching Ottawa.
Let's go to Mike Millian. He's the president of Private Motor Truck Council of Canada and joined us now to talk a bit more about this. Thank you for your time today.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
So Aaron O'Toole, the leader of the opposition, as you may have heard, is going to meet with some members of this truckers group. We're not sure who, if it's going to be organizers or others. He wasn't very clear on that. What do you think of this gesture?
Well, we defend the rights to people, for people to peacefully protest. When this thing started, it was a mandate or a protest against a border vaccine mandate. It's kind of ballooned quite a bit since then. Some people not even involved with the trucking industry have grabbed on and kind of become organizers and changed the message. And we've seen over the last couple of days, and our organization's become very concerned about some of the rhetoric we've heard out of it, hearing racist remarks, comparing it to Nazis and communism, the things that are not comparable to what's going on right now.
It is absolutely comparable to it. It is absolutely. What you just said is comparable to communism.
Yes. That's exactly what we're protesting. Nazism, communism, whatever ism, You people are trying to impose on humanity. We're against you. And you're now upset because people are starting to call you what you are. They don't like it. They're needle Nazis. And they don't like that term. Have you noticed, Doc, how the leftist media has left me alone? They used to really pound on me, but they've been very, very quiet for many, many months because they don't want me to be seen and heard talking about the needle Nazis. Very interesting.
It is. So, and you're seeing that phrase starting to gain traction and start to pick up steam around the country.
Yeah,
and
say it all the time.
Afraid to say it.
Say it every place you can. Needle Nazis, needle Nazis, needle Nazis, needle Nazis. That's what they are. They hate people calling them needle Nazis because it sticks in people's minds. And you can get a mental picture of what they are. A Nazi with a needle.
Yes.
Then, if Hitler were here today, he wouldn't have gas chambers. He'd have vaccination centers. Not real vaccines, not the polio vaccine. No, not the measles vaccine. We're talking gene therapy injections disguised as vaccines. Because if it was a vaccine, you couldn't get infected if you were vaccinated. Right?
That's exactly right.
That's the purpose of being vaccinated. It's amazing how many people who are vaccinated with this stuff are in denial. They're just saying, okay, the media is telling me I should be grateful that I'm vaccinated because if I get sick, the vaccine will help me a lot. What? What?
I won't be as sick. What? Or just walk it through here, Rick. Okay, I'll get the jab because it'll protect me from COVID. All right, I'll get the second jab because it'll protect me from COVID. I'll get the booster because it'll protect me from COVID. What do I do now? What will protect me from COVID now?
And so many of these people have adverse reactions, and they still go back for the next shot.
Yes.
Really weird. It's just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. Mass hypnosis of the human race. That's what we're dealing with. Mass hypnosis. How have they done this, Doc? How have they hypnotized hundreds of millions of people? Worldwide, billions of people. How have they done it?
They've done it through the media. They've delivered that information through the media. We're told we can trust the media. The media won't lie to you. The media, and they're being the spokesperson of the government. But the government won't lie to you. The government loves you.
And your doctor won't lie to you.
Right. But if they all chose to believe a lie, then you've got to be able to discern that. Fortunately, there seems to be something that's breaking through out there, not just in Canada, but on a global basis. Right now, there are trucker convoys that are being organized around the globe. We have a video clip. Here's one that is being formed in Brazil. Watch this. Over in Germany, the truckers and the farmers are organizing as well. Thank the Lord for that. Somebody in Europe is waking up. We've got some video of that too. They actually shut down the Autobahn today, and so for a few hours.
Congratulations,
So, yes.
German truckers and farmers.
And then throughout the week, the Italians have been slowly building up for their own, their own convoy across the nation. We have some video of that as well.
Porque sei que é nosso, vamos.
So what are they protesting? They're protesting more than the mandates. Really, as you expressed it earlier, Rick, they're protesting the lies and the deceits and the propaganda and the hypnosis that's been coming down for so long.
The lockdowns.
Even people who are vaccinated now are waking up. Why did I do this? Why did I go through? Why did I believe that? And they're waking up to that. They're finally seeing that was a lie.
You even have lefties like Bill Maher, who are now challenging the whole narrative.
Yes.
I mean, Bill Maher is sounding like us.
Yes.
I never thought
scary.
I'd say that day. But that's an indication of how weak the globalist narrative is at this stage of the game right now, in January 2022. They're losing. We need to pour on the pressure. We need to force them to retreat and then flee the country, go to China, seek asylum in Beijing, and stay there. And we'll happily live here without them. We'll do quite well without them. We'll actually be happy without them. One final story on COVID. This is National Post in Canada. Why the double vaccinated in some places are testing positive for COVID more than the unvaccinated. How could this be?
It's a mystery. It's so crazy. One infectious disease specialist said, the trend is curious, Rick.
Oh, it's so curious. No, it's not curious at all.
And a quote from that article, this is from National Post. This is why Canadians are upset. In at least 3 provinces lately, Canadians who are double vaccinated have been more likely to test positive for COVID than the unvaccinated. A fact that has been seized on by anti-vaccination activists as supposed evidence the shots don't work. Well, it sounds to me like that's pretty solid evidence there, not supposed evidence, Rick.
You have to be insane.
This is supposed evidence.
You have to be insane to believe this stuff. You have to be insane to read these news articles and believe this stuff. You've lost your mind if you can read newspapers and listen to television news reports that put out this propaganda garbage and you actually believe it. And we all, you and I, we all have relatives, we all have close relatives in our families who believe it and we don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to say. They swallowed the pill. They believe it. They're gone. Their mind's gone. They'll believe anything now. If they fell for this stuff, they'll believe anything.
Yeah.
And they will take the mark of the beast. We now know how the mark of the beast will be administered. It's so out in the open now. There's nothing to think about anymore. We used to, for years, Christians talked about how will the mark of the beast happen. We now know.
They'll line up for it.
They're doing it right now. This is it. They showed us what they're going to do. All they have to do is make a deadly virus in one of their laboratories, release it, and scare the human race into being injected. They will accept the mark of the beast.
You mean a deadly virus with a 99.7 survival rate?
Yes, but Doc, they don't have. They'll step it up. You can be sure. These madmen are going to release another virus. They're going to go for it again. I'm telling you, at some point, we have to put these people in their place. We are living through, you and I are living through the first bio war in the history of the human race. It's global. This is a biological warfare on the human race. This is a pestilence. As the Bible told us, there would be pestilences. What is a pestilence? It's a disease brought about through animals. That's what this is. It's a virus that's derived from an animal.
Yes.
And they use gain-of-function research.
And weaponized it.
And they weaponized it, and they released it on human beings. They're absolutely mad. And they're going to try this again. But we now know their plan. And we'll meet them head on. We'll make them fight for their new world order. We'll make them bleed for their new world order.
Let them make war
We'll
with the
make them
saints.
die for their new world order. You want it, baby? You want your new world order? You're going to have to fight for it now, because we're going to meet you in the streets. We're going to make you fight for your new world order. We're not going to lay down. We're going to stand up. We're going to resist. And we're going to be proud and tall. And we will not go down without a fight. A lot of you New World Order freaks are going to go down. It's going to be a lot harder than you ever imagined to get your kingdom for your God, Lucifer. Well, let's talk. I got a couple minutes here before we wrap it up on this Friday. I don't have time to get through everything. I'm going to give you a real brief wrap up on what's going on in Ukraine, where, again, the lunatics are trying to start World War III so that they can kill off more people. I'm going to go for our guys in control. I'm going to move through this pretty fast. Number 30, Bloomberg, Wall Street briefed by Biden team of Russian sanctions. They have a whole new array of sanctions they're going to slap on Russia.
But they told the banks first, Rick.
Yes.
Before they released any information to the public.
Yes.
They had private meetings with banks yet over the past couple days before they told everyone else.
Or maybe the banksters briefed Biden.
I believe that more than anything else.
Yeah, they got that headline.
But it explains why the Dow futures this morning was 500 in the hole before the day began.
That's right.
So
Breitbart, Ukraine says destabilization fueled by Biden. Ukrainian officials are saying, wait a minute, it's not Russia that's destabilizing our country.
Yes.
It's the Biden administration hysteria.
Right, and this is actually a couple days old here, Rick. Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council Secretary Oleksiy Danilov says panic caused by West is greater than the Russian threat. Greater than the Russian threat, Rick.
And then President Zelensky told his people, there aren't any troops on the streets. There are no tanks on the streets. There's no need to panic. Let's go ahead and watch it.
Than it was at that time, at the peak time in early 2021. It was very intense, but such informational attitude towards Ukraine, and it's a question not only to you but to the world. There was no such coverage at that time of Ukraine, and we've talked to the president. We've talked about this. We think that there has to be a balanced approach. I'm not saying that he's influencing American media. They're independent, but the media policy there has to be well balanced. If they want to know what the situation is, that they can come to Kyiv. Do we have tanks on the street? No. But the feeling is, if you're not here, the feeling is when you listen to them in Germany, in France and Lithuania, I'm talking to the president of Lithuania and other leaders, the image that mass media creates is that we have troops on the roads, we have mobilization, people are leaving from places. That's not the case. We don't need this panic. That's a very important moment. I'm not saying that escalation is excluded. We have been talking about this for 8 years now. It has happened already. The escalation did already happen.
So what an interesting, different story.
Yes. This is after all the release yesterday about the discussion between Biden and Zelensky and everything. Rick, I caught this today. This is actually from the Ukraine Tourism Authority, okay? And they're saying, keep calm and visit Ukraine. All right, and look what they say here. According to the President and the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, there is no reason to panic, and the situation on the Ukrainian border remains under control. This is what Ukraine is saying. They're saying, we want your tourists here. We want you to keep coming here.
Okay.
Everything's under control.
Doc, the bottom line is the United States government and the news media of the United States of America lies. They flat out lie. The U.S. government lies, the politicians lie, and the news media lies. You just saw. You saw the president of Ukraine saying, I don't have any tanks on the street. I don't have troops out here. They're not getting ready for war. What he's saying is we're not getting ready for war with Russia.
Right. And that's been what's been building up all day today. And this is that there's some sort of contradiction between what the Biden administration has been putting out there and now what Mr. Zelensky is saying. Mr. Zelensky and his defense minister, they're saying we're not in a panic situation here. We know about the Russian troops out here. We've been living with them for 8 years. I mean, what are we worried about? So you have to ask, who is pushing this narrative. It's certainly not the Ukrainians.
Doc, number 35, Business Insider reporting Ukraine president told Biden to calm down. Calm down with all this talk of a Russian invasion. Well, that isn't what we're hearing in the United States. We're hearing that Joe Biden is standing up against the Russians. He's telling Zelensky, America's got your back. We're going to stop the Russians. But Zelensky's saying, just stop the war talk. Doc, what happened here with this story?
All right, so what happened is that there was this conversation between President Biden and President Zelensky that occurred, and the news started to leak out yesterday that maybe everything wasn't as copacetic as it first appeared. You know, the first stories coming out and everything were like, oh man, everything's great, we're moving ahead with the plan. But as the story started getting leaked out through the evening through Ukrainian officials says there was a big division between Joe Biden and Mr. Zelensky. CNN picked up on this last night, and they put out a video piece yesterday evening explaining these differences. Well, a couple hours later, after this started getting a lot of traction, CNN actually pulled this video clip back from social media, took it off. And because, this is a new age of social media, so many people had the clip, they were reposting and said, CNN, why'd you take this down? That CNN was forced to put it back up as if, oh, well, we just made a mistake. But if the information that they're giving in this report is correct, Rick, it really is damning to the Biden administration. And so let's watch this real quick.
We have breaking news for you in our world lead. A senior Ukrainian official tells CNN that today's phone call between President Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, quote, did not go well. Our source tells CNN that the two disagreed about the immediacy of the threat of a Russian attack on Ukraine. The White House and Pentagon have been emphatic that they believe an attack could be imminent. We should note the White House just released its own readout of that call, and there was no mention of President Biden's warnings or the two presidents' disagreements. The White House did say Biden underscored America's commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty. CNN's Matthew Chance joins us now live from Kiev, Ukraine, with more. Matthew, what more are you learning about this disagreement on the Biden-Zelensky call? How heated did it get?
I'm not sure I could characterize how heated it got, but there was definitely a disagreement about the sort of level of risk that the country is facing when it comes to a Russian invasion. On the one hand, you've got President Biden. This is according to an official who briefed me on the conversation that was had on the telephone call this evening. On the one hand, President Biden saying the threat is imminent. I mean, we've heard this before. The Ukrainians pushing back on that, saying that the threat, according to their intelligence analysts, is a bit more ambiguous than that, and it's possible that there won't be an invasion, whereas President Biden apparently telling his Ukrainian counterpart that an invasion was virtually certain later on in February when the ground becomes more frozen in this country. He went on to say that he warned the Ukrainian leader that the capital, Kiev, this city here, could be sacked. And that's the word he apparently used, according to this Ukrainian official, sacked by Russian forces, who he said may attempt to occupy it. There was also some quite bad news delivered, although expected news, I think, delivered by the US president to the Ukrainian side. President Biden, according to this official who briefed me on the conversation, saying that he told the Ukrainian leader that Ukraine would not be getting significantly more military help, that there would be no US troops sent to Ukraine to defend it. We already knew that, of course, but it was reiterated again on this phone call. Also, no sophisticated weapons.
Okay.
Well, Doc, once again, a phone call involving the President of the United States and the leader of Ukraine.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Is in the news, and there's controversy about the phone call. If my memory serves me correctly, the House Democrats, led by the Queen Bee herself, Nancy Pelosi, impeached President Trump over that phone call, demanded the transcripts, and they dragged him through the mud over a phone call to a Ukrainian official. Isn't that what happened 2020?
That's exactly what happened, Rick.
So are we going to impeach Joe Biden? Is he going to release the transcripts? Mr. Biden, release the transcripts. You know, Mr. Trump didn't even have to, release transcripts. His transcripts were leaked.
That's right.
By U.S. intelligence agencies that were spying on President Trump, like the FBI.
But Joe Biden, the candidate, leading up in the election, made a lot of hay about this particular issue, Rick. So back in September of 2019, this is Joe Biden on the campaign trail. And he goes through here and it lays out all the case here about why this phone call and everything was such bad news. Such clear-cut corruption damages and diminishes our institutions of government by making them tools of a personal political vendetta. At minimum, Donald Trump should immediately release the transcript of the call in question so the American people can judge for themselves, and direct the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to stop stonewalling and release the whistleblower notification to Congress.
Well, Mr. Biden, release the transcript of your call with President Zelensky, and let's find out who the liar is in this controversy. I want to jump down to number 40. This is Interfax from Russia. Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of the United Nations, announced NATO's readiness for a military scenario in Ukraine. Gee, Mr. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, didn't announce his readiness for a war. He's like, I don't want a war. I just want tourists to come here. I'm not going to read all the quotes we have. Let's go down to number 42.
It says NATO is ready for any scenario around Ukraine, including an armed conflict, the Secretary General said. We're ready for all options. We're working to implement a political solution, the best scenario, but also ready for the worst, a new armed conflict, the fact that Russia will again use military forces against its neighbor, Ukraine, Stoltenberg said. So NATO is still gearing up for some activity in Ukraine, in spite of the fact that Mr. Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, said, things aren't that bad here, really.
We're not going to have a war.
We really don't want one.
Doc, I'm going to make a prediction. I don't know if it'll happen where it actually will be signed, but I think behind the scenes, there will be an effort to draft a peace treaty between Russia and Ukraine. And Ukraine could, if I were advising President Zelensky, this is what I would say. You need to declare Ukraine as a neutral nation, like Switzerland. You're friends with Russia and you're friends with the West. You just want to be friends with everybody. You want Russian tourists, you want Western tourists. You want Russian fuel and Russian products, you want Western products. You just want to be happy with everybody. Sign a peace treaty with Russia, and that peace treaty would say that Ukraine would not join NATO. And in return, Russia would never take military action against Ukraine.
Everybody's happy.
And it's over, isn't it? Where are the statesmen in the world right now? I just came up with a solution. I should be an ambassador.
The ambassador of peace. Rick
I should get a Nobel Peace Prize for what I just proposed, because it would solve it. If you were really trying to have peace in the world.
But that's not really the goal, is it, Rick?
No, they want war. And one final message. This is from General Marxus Milley of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the United States of America, and he has his war message.
And we are ready, capable, and prepared to uphold our obligation under treaty to NATO. As mentioned by the Secretary, an attack against one NATO ally is an attack against all. NATO has significant military capability. NATO has approximately 130 plus brigades of maneuver forces, not including U.S. forces, 93 squadrons of high-end fighters, 4 carriers, many more surface combatants. The military capability of NATO is very, very significant.
Well, first of all, if it's so significant that they don't need our help, okay, if that's the case. But, Rick, I have a question.
Okay.
All right, here's my question. Why, we've talked about Article 5, and he was talking about Article 5 there.
Mm-hmm.
An attack against any NATO member is an attack against all of them, right?
But Ukraine's not a NATO member.
That's where I'm going with this. So what attack is he talking about? Has Russia threatened any NATO nation?
No.
Not a single one.
They haven't threatened Ukraine. Show me the threat from Russia that we're going to attack Ukraine. There's no threat.
So what?
They're defending their border against a possible NATO invasion. Let me tell you, with General Milley, the man who reads Mao Zedong, the man who betrayed President Trump, the man who called the highest-ranking Chinese general in the PLA and committed sedition and treason against President Trump and told the PLA general, if Trump orders an attack on China, I'll call you and tell you, and we'll cancel it.
The same general who wrote his thesis on how to take down a government from internally.
With guerrilla warfare.
Yes.
Okay.
That guy.
Here's what I'm going to propose to you folks as my final thought. Doc, if there's a war between the United States, NATO, and Russia, who's the winner?
I don't. Just the people that sold the weapons, in my mind.
No.
Because
I
hear a lot of losers out there.
They'll make money. But geopolitically, who's the winner?
China.
China. China. Who wants the war? China. Doesn't matter if the U.S. and NATO win the war or Russia wins the war. Both sides will be destroyed, and China wins. Now, does this make sense? Now you can think about who they work for. That's it for me. I don't have another thing to say today.
All right. Well, in that case, folks, we'll see you next week. But,
that's right.
Hey, we do want to remind you, though, Final Day, second edition.
Yeah, second edition of my book, Final Day. Final Day is not a book about the last days. It's a book about the last day. See, we're in the last days, but the last day will have a last day. I wrote a book about the last day of the last days. What goes down on the last day of the last days? Have you ever thought about it? I mean, what goes down? Jesus told us. The Bible's full of it. The Old Testament prophets, the New Testament apostles, Jesus himself told us what will happen on that day. They referred to it as that day, the day of the Lord. That day. The Bible's full of scriptures about that day. What goes down on that day? Well, that's what I try to do. I put together as many of those scriptures in one book and organized them into 10 chapters. The final day, the 10 characteristics of the second coming of Jesus Christ. And we have just printed, it's being printed right now, literally today. I received, before I came out here, an email from the printing company. They began printing the second edition today. So we will have copies here sometime in the next few weeks. They got to be shipped. I hope they're not coming from Canada. All right. But the truckers will bring them here to us, and we'll have them. But now it is a paperback this time. First edition was hardback. We're sold out of the hardback. First edition. Second edition is paperback. The price is $19.95 plus shipping. You can pre-order right now. You can go to the website, TruNews.com. There's a banner there. Click it for Final Day. If you want me to personally autograph, we're asking for a donation of $100. I'll sign it in blue ink. You'll know it came from me. It's not a rubber stamp. It's me. I'm signing the books. Doc can attest that I sit in my office with piles of books. I don't even know, thousands and thousands and thousands of books I signed last year. And I'll do it again this year. So if you want it signed by me, I'll do it. I'm asking for a donation of $100. It all goes to TruNews to support this ministry. I have not been paid a single dime from this book that I wrote. I have given all of it to the support of this ministry. And I'm just grateful for all of you who bought the book in the first edition. Now the second edition is available, and I really tightened the book. I mean, I took out stuff that was just wordiness, that it's like, hey, I could take that out and really wouldn't change the chapter. But then I packed in new revelation and information, and the Lord really downloaded in me some amazing understandings about the parables and the second coming of Christ. It really is a new book. So even if you read the first version, you ought to get the second one. The second edition is 10 times better than the first edition. Go to the website, TruNews.com, or you can call that number, 800-576-2116, or you can send a check. If you do it by check, I do ask you that you add something for shipping and handling, because we have to mail it to you. And we'd appreciate an extra gift there. But you can send a check to Post Office Box 690069, Vero Beach, Florida. The zip code is 32969. Pray for us this weekend. Do you know what's happening here in Florida? I don't know if we're going to make it.
Well, we got the lizard falling forecast.
The falling lizard forecast?
Yes. So for folks that don't live in Florida, when it gets cold here in Florida, the lizards start falling out of the trees. We have iguanas and geckos and stuff that live in the trees, especially in mid to South Florida.
I'm going to sit up all night just to watch. I want to see a lizard fall out of the tree.
When temperatures get down into the lower 30s and the upper 20s, which we're getting in Florida, which is very unusual for us.
The 20s for us. This is Ice Age in Florida.
You can literally sit outside and you can hear the iguanas dropping from the trees.
I'm staying up tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch. I want to see at least one iguana.
We are experiencing colder temperatures than usual because global warming works, right?
That's right. That's right. Hey, we appreciate your support. Would you become a partner with TruNews this year? Christ is coming back soon. Let's get the job done. He said that when the gospel of the kingdom is preached in all the world, then shall the end come. The end is not coming until the gospel of the kingdom is preached in all the world. Let's get the job done and get Jesus Christ back here.
Amen.
All right, I'm done with this world. I want New Jerusalem. I want to be with my Heavenly Father. Who wants this old place anymore? It's worn out. It's stained with sin. Let's go home to the Father, right? Let's see the whole church go home. We'll be back here on Monday unless Jesus comes tomorrow. Love you. See you.
God bless.